This is Intoxicated Literature.
Welcome to Intoxicated Literature. I am Evelyn Crow.
And I am Daniella Drake.
Today we are reading a book that I recommended. Shocker, I know. This is an urban fantasy from the early 2000s-ish. And it is a, I'm so sorry, Daniella. I know. This is totally not your... I mean, it's urban fantasy, but also romance. It's very...
I liked it. It wasn't like... It's a vampire thing, which is maybe not my first choice, but I thought it was good.
There's a definite, mythology to it, too. And it builds as the series goes on, so...
I believe that. This is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward.
We do have a themed drink.
We do. We're drinking the Bloodsucker,
Yes.
which is very... Actually, this is a tasty treat.
This is so good.
It's so good.
This is my second one, and I'm sucking it down.
I do recommend this one for sure. So, yeah. Yum. Spoilers. We will ruin the entire book. Probably not the series, but maybe.
I did read the entire series, so I might get more into the mythology of things and how things happen later. Not so much the plots as much as the mythology of things as they unravel. Because that's not, again, first book of the whole series, so.
Right, yeah, there's not a whole lot of mythology yet, but what there was interesting. We will also probably talk about sexy time, so if you are under 18, this is not the podcast for you, and there will be swearing, because we are intoxicated, and the filters are gone.
Yes, no filters.
So, let's get into it!
Okay, so Dark Lover is a vampire book, and the way that... So, there are, a hierarchy of vampires in this world, and, the Black Dagger Brotherhood are, the elite males. These are the most alpha male vampires that you are going to find in the vampire world.
Yeah. I do want to take a moment and talk about their names.
Oh my god, their names!
Because, fuck?
No, I have no hate to these names because I have... I can't hate on these names because I have a character in one of my books whose name is Cage, and it's spelled K-A-I-G.
So this is the thing, though, is that, when I first started reading it, I was kind of like, I kind of like this play on names or whatever, and by the end of the book, it was taking me out every time. I was like, I cannot focus with these names. Mostly it was Fury with a PH and Rage, but I'll tell you the one that made me the most upset, and that was Zadist.
It's sadist.
I know it is sadist, but it was bothering me. This is why it was bothering me, because it's sadist, but they're calling him Z. Because it starts with a Z, and I'm like, it's one of the guys, stop it.
Look. It's fantasy.
I know. And listen, names are hard.
Names are hard.
I don't want to be too judgy about it. I just wanted to comment on it because I thought it was funny.
I actually wrote them down.
I did too.
I was like, I have to write these names down because I forgot how amazing these names were.
Yeah.
And I have no hate to these names because my names are no better. In my book.
Names are hard. They're really hard. I don't want to judge anyone because names are hard.
The character with tentacles in my book, Leviathan. It's not
Which is awesome.
I'm horribly original.
But did you spell it with a Y?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I should
Wrath.
have.
Wrath is just spelled basically normally. Fine. Just lean into it.
I like
Make
Rage. The Rage spelling was great.
Yeah, I didn't mind Rage. I thought Rage was cool. You just add an H and it's it actually does look like a name.
And they call him Hollywood? That was his nickname because he was so handsome.
I did like the characters in this. I thought Beth was a no-nonsense kind of woman, which I always appreciate.
Yeah.
Wrath just cracked me up because he's 6'6".
Mm-hmm.
The fact, too, that they always wear leather. Always.
Always in leather. So with his huge, ass boots.
I know. Guys.
I know. And
are you not trying to, hide at all?
It's you see these guys walking down the streets and be like, I'm gonna across the street.
I know.
Like, they're not hiding at all. Like, they are the most threatening, like, appearance ever.
For sure.
They are the most vampire of vampires. I would clock them a mile away. I would just be like, no.
And people are, like, literally, like, in the opening scene, when Darius is meeting him at the nightclub, and Wrath walks in, and literally everyone is just like, get out of this guy's way. Like,
Red Sea, parting. Excuse me.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, there is no hiding. There is no even pretending.
I know, not even a little bit. Like, it's so funny. I did really appreciate the lore in this, though. Like, I know that it's the first book, and you don't really get all of the mythology right away. But I thought it was an interesting take on vampires and how they're having this kind of, like, war between the vampires and the lessers who are just, like, soulless humans.
They're almost like zombies, in a way. It's weird how it's gross how they're created.
I don't want to know. They didn't really show it, and I appreciated that. Yeah, I don't want it. No.
Yeah. No, it's a play on Christianity that's different than you've ever seen before.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate that aspect.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And the whole, like, the scribe virgin and the Omega and how they're creating these, essentially, races of people, which is, like, I've just never seen that before. It's very unique.
It really is. It was a really unique mythology, and it was really cool.
Yeah, and that I loved that aspect of this book. Like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and it's just a shame, at least in this first novel. It does get a little better as it goes on. It's just because this is the Black Dagger Brotherhood, and they are the elite warriors, right? This is like the SEALs, right?
Yeah.
They are...
a vampire land, yeah.
They are the ones who protect everyone. So, you don't see a lot, at least in this novel, you don't see a lot of... because there are other vampires who live in the world. Just regular-ass vampires. They're just living in houses. Yep. They're just trying to live their lives. They're around. You don't see them. But they're there. But these guys are, like, the top warriors. And they have skills that other vampires don't have. For fighting. That is literally what they're for, is for fighting. And, so there's a gender essentialism factor that I don't really appreciate necessarily.
Yeah, I was a little bummed that there wasn't at least, like, a couple of women warriors.
Yeah.
Like, I would have loved to have seen that be a thing.
And it does happen as the series goes on. You do see...
I was gonna say, I feel like this is a product of its time more than anything. Like, it's like, these are men, and they're so manly, and, like, they're going out and kicking ass, and of course women are just staying home. Like, that's bullshit, and we all know it, and now...
Beth being a product of the glass ceiling, she can't get higher than where she is, and you're just like, this is so early 2000s, I can't...
Oh my god, that whole scene with her supervisor?
Yes.
I was triggered.
Yes!
Like, where he's just, like, giving, like, she's supposed to be editing these columns, and the guys are getting lazy because they know that she's gonna clean it up, and I'm just like, this is too realistic.
I know.
I'm not having fun right now.
It really is very realistic, and you're just like, oh no!
Yeah. I was like, I can't read this. This is not escapism.
No.
Yeah.
This is too real.
I also didn't love that, like, one of the first things that we see is her getting, basically... essays.
Yeah.
Which I didn't like.
No, and that is unfortunate.
I mean, she kicks their ass in the end and gets away, which, yay.
Yeah, she breaks some guy's nose, which is amazing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure make sure he can't have children. Which, yeah, you get him, girl.
But again, that's, there has to be some kind of... The fact that there has to be that on page in order for her story to continue, it's very early 2000s.
It is,
it's
for
a product
sure.
of its time. I'm not dissing it at all. This is just
no.
a product of its time. It happened a lot in novels in this era. And again, the series does get better as it moves on.
Yeah, I imagine
there is
that's
a
true.
lot of growth for J.R. Ward as it continues. But Beth is not someone who just lies down and takes this shit either.
No.
She is a no-nonsense kind of person.
Yeah. I loved her, actually, because she is just calling everyone on their bullshit left and right. Like, she's a journalist, and she's going, I'm smelling bullshit. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're hanging on to this trauma? Why? Like, what? I think you just need to let that go.
Yeah. I don't think so.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked her a lot. And her little cat, Boo, who I thought was adorable.
I love little Boo. But the thing is, the part of the mythology for this is that vampires can have children.
But it's rare.
It's very rare. So Beth is like a mixed human with vampire. And when they reach a certain point in their life cycle, they need to have the blood of a male vampire to like...
I do want to talk about this a little bit because I thought this was also a really interesting take on the mythology where vampires do need blood to sustain themselves, but not human blood. They need other vampire blood, and they need blood from the opposite sex, which I thought was very interesting. I was like, huh, okay. I don't really know what to make of that.
It's like a take on Fated Mates.
A little bit, yeah.
But not really?
Yeah, because you don't have to be in love with anyone to take their blood, but there is this kind of sexy aspect to
intimacy?
it, I guess. Yeah.
I would say
yeah.
It's not necessarily you don't love them, but there's an intimacy because you're close to them physically while you're doing
and
this.
You have to trust them not to kill you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please don't kill me while I ingest your bodily fluids.
Right.
And you have to trust that they're healthy. You have to trust that they're, I mean, there's a lot of trust going on in this.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting way to play it because it was like, even Beth, when she's first introduced to this world, she's like, oh my God, you're going to suck my blood. And he's like, no, that's not going to do anything for me. Like, I need an actual vampire. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and then you have to kind of put yourself in Beth's shoes when she finds that out too, because like if you fall in love with a vampire and he can't drink your blood and you understand that it's an intimate thing,
right?
How comfortable are you with that vampire going out and drinking someone else's blood?
Yeah, that's a tricky situation to get it. Like I think about Butch and what's her name? The one that was with Wrath first. Oh, I didn't write her down. I only wrote down the men. I'm so sexist.
You are!
I'm so sexist!
Crap.
I know. What is her name? Marissa?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I think about that relationship where it actually made me sad to read it because Marissa was trying so hard to be what Wrath needed and wanted, and it had been centuries that they had been together, and he just was not feeling it. He was just like, you're here for a purpose, and I'm trying to take care of you because I know that you're serving that purpose, but I don't care about you, really. Yeah, it was just like, you're kind of there because I need it, but that's it. Like, and it just made me sad to read about it because both of them, I feel like, could have used someone that was really there to care for them, and neither of them was getting that.
Yeah.
And so that whole thing was just like, geez, this is sad.
It was so sad. And Marissa, you get the feeling that Marissa was very sheltered her entire life and just told, this is your purpose. So you get this definite feeling that there is a aristocracy in vampire worlds, and you're like, okay, because the Black Dagger Brotherhood is definitely like, oh, you want, I mean, because Wrath is the king. He's like the king of vampires. He is it. And so
he's the dude.
And so Marissa's father is like, you need to make him happy.
Mm-hmm.
And so if she's not making him happy, of course it's her fault. Somehow.
Right. Yes, of course. Of course she's not doing enough or whatever, like, whatever
which is
bullshit
some
they want to spin.
patriarchal bullshit that is just...
For sure. Yes.
Bullshit.
And there was an aspect of that pissed me off, for sure. Because, like, even the things that she was internalizing, I was like, girl,
no,
this is not you. This is not a you problem.
Wrath wasn't saying that either. It was not Wrath who was saying it. Wrath was like, no, you're fine.
Exactly. And actually, like, even her brother, who we can talk about in a minute, because what the fuck, my dude? But even her brother had these moments of, like, really hating on Wrath because he wasn't treating her better and stuff. And it wasn't that Wrath didn't care for her, because I think he did as much as he could, but it just, he did not romantically have that connection with her, and was never going to. Like, it just wasn't there.
He didn't even really like her as a person. Like, they did not jive together.
No, they were on different wavelengths.
They really
entirely.
were. They were not, like, she was the soft-spoken, kind of quiet person, and Wrath is just like, I'm out, I'm going, I'm, like, active, and I'm...
He really needs someone that's going to stand up to him and, like, call his bullshit and, like, be strong, and she just was the opposite of that. She was not capable of doing that.
And then there's Beth, who's like, no, I call you bullshit all the time.
Exactly. Which is why they work so well.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though, she's 25 and he's
Why
300
do these
whatever.
novels do that?
I don't know.
I mean, I did that.
I will.
I mean, it's a thing, but it's just like...
I know. I will never understand it, but it works. So who am I to say that it shouldn't be continued? I don't know.
And, okay, can we talk about how would you be? You're 25. You've lived your whole life as a regular human person. So regular, by the way, that you've been through the foster system. You are a journalist. You think you know the fucking world. You think you know shit. You've been through shit. You've seen it all. You think. And then all of a sudden your body is starting to go fucking haywire. For no fucking reason. And then all of a sudden some dude who's 6'6" shows up in your apartment. And then you're like, I cannot keep away from you. My body is like, what is happening? I need you right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
I know.
That makes sense.
This is what I appreciated about that, though, is that it wasn't just her being like, oh my god, I need you right now. Like, I cannot take this. Like, help me, whatever. Like, he was also feeling that immediately. Yes. Like, he was like, okay.
Yeah. He was totally just like, okay. And they were both just kind of like, oh, we're going to do it right now.
Okay, yeah, gotta happen.
Sure. But then he's like, by the way, I'm a vampire.
Right.
And she's like,
excuse me?
No.
No.
I have seen shit, but I have not seen that shit.
Would you believe some guy that told you he was a vampire? Absolutely not!
No!
Absolutely not!
Especially Beth, who has seen all the shit.
And she's a journalist. Like, she just is, like, trained to see bullshit,
yes.
Right?
And she's like, I just slept with this guy, and now this guy's pulling my leg. This is what guys do. They sleep with you, and then they pull this shit to, like, run away. This is, like, what they do. This is,
It's like, my dude, just tell me you're not interested, and go on your way. Like, I don't need you to do this.
It was fucking Butch. I felt so sorry for Butch.
Oh my god. I loved Butch.
Butch is great. I don't want anyone to hate on Butch. Butch is great. I just felt really sorry for him because he kept trying to do the right thing and just ended up stepping in it every single time.
I feel like it worked out for him, though.
It did,
because
in the
Marissa
end.
is into him.
Marissa loves him.
And listen, like, I loved that he wanted to do the right thing every time. And, like, part of the discourse when even on Beth's side, when they were talking about Butch or thinking about Butch, like, he is like, I am the job, and eventually I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die alone because I'm not going to drag anyone else into this lifestyle with me. Like, it was really sad because he was so just, like, resigned to the fact that this job was going to kill him, either literally or figuratively, right?
This book felt very ACAB for its time.
I agree.
And I'm all for that because I'm very ACAB. So
yeah, it was great to see it, actually. Yeah. And this early on when it wasn't really happening.
It really
much yet.
Wasn't happening yet. And I remember reading it going, I haven't read a book really from a cop's perspective, because he was a cop and he was bound by the rules and the regulations. He couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. And then when he finally found the person who was responsible, he was fired for doing his job. Well, he did punch a guy.
He broke his nose again, which is maybe not great. But also,
who can blame him, really?
Yeah, right? I wanted to break his nose too, so.
I mean, they put him on probation. I mean, that's not really fun.
Yeah.
But they put him on probation.
But they were making, what is it called? Not a spectacle. What is it called?
Statement?
No. They were using him as a scapegoat, kind of. That's not what I'm trying to say, but they were using him as an example.
Yes.
They were making an example of him.
Yes.
Got there. I got there. It took me a long time.
So proud of yourself, though.
It hurt me hard. It hurt me. But I made it. But they were making an example of him because IA was like, nope, you can't just go out there and rough up people. Yeah. Like, that's not what the police are supposed to do. So this guy's going to get fired.
Oh, really? They're not. Sorry.
Right. Exactly. No, that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
So he gets fired, but really, like, he's not the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he has a partner who is like police for life. Like, he is in it.
Jose. Who I loved. He was so sweet.
He was a really good guy. And he really wanted to, be a good guy. He wanted to be a good cop. And he really did. And you'd think that this was all, like, you'd think Jose was, propaganda. But he really wasn't. Because Jose was, I can do this way.
Oh, he was all about bending the rules.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I'm gonna bend them. I'm not gonna break them, but I'm gonna bend them just a little bit. Like, I'm gonna call this reporter and say, hey, there's been a bomb. Like, come see what's happening.
Yeah. Jose was not straight-laced. Jose was like, I'm gonna go this way. It was not propaganda.
No.
And Butch finally was just like, screw this. I can't do what I want to do as a detective.
Yeah. Like, all these rules are making it so I can't actually protect and serve. Like, this is not what I want.
Because cops don't protect and serve. That's not their job. And it's like he finally realized that. And he put everything down and he left. And poor Jose was just like, oh my God, what happened to Butch? It was so sad.
That was so sad at the end when he goes to his apartment and it's just empty and there's no sign of struggle. He's just vanished. Poof.
I know. He was just like, oh my God, where's Butch?
I know. That was so, and he was the only one that cared. Like, he was the only one that checked to see where Butch went. And that was heartbreaking.
It's so sad.
But now Butch has a whole family.
I know.
Which was so good.
I know. Moved into the mansion. Okay, let's talk about the fucking mansion.
Oh my God. Okay, so this is the thing. Like, first and foremost, Darius, who I was sad died so soon because I thought he was going to be my favorite character, and then
he got Ned Stark.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently he's coming back later in the series, though.
Kinda. I mean, kinda. Not as Darius, but kind of.
No, that was the rule. Like, the scribe version was like, well, I'll send you back, but you're not really gonna know who you are, so he's, like, trying to get Wrath to take care of his daughter.
Who's Beth, by the way. Darius' daughter is Beth.
Yes. And then he gets blown up.
Bomb! Like, in the beginning. Like, super early.
So fast! In the first, like, chapter. Maybe the second. And then Wrath, who said no, is like, well, now I have to take care of this girl. You're dead.
Yeah. No, Wrath was like, fuck.
But it turns out Darius is rich as fuck.
So rich. Stock market, baby.
Like, he was an aristocrat when he was turned, or when he became a vampire or whatever. And so he had all this money to begin with in the 1700s or whatever it was that he was changed.
And then he played the stock market real smart.
Yep. And now Beth has it all.
He has his fucking mansion, and Beth inherits it and has his fucking mansion. And she has Fritz.
Oh! I loved Fritz. I loved him.
Fritz? I would die for Fritz.
I would too. He was fabulous. I loved him so much. His taste in clothes.
Oh my God.
his ability to cook.
Oh my god.
I was like, my dude, you could move in with me right now.
Seriously. I love Fritz.
I will take care of you if you take care of me.
I would pay him anything.
Absolutely.
I would give him everything. I would give him the clothes off my back. I would be like, my man.
I know. I loved him. I loved him so much. I thought he was so fun, so good, so sweet. Like, yeah.
I love him.
And he's like the butler. Darius's butler. Like his one servant.
There are
have,
other servants, but he is like
well, he's like the main
the
guy.
major domo or whatever you would call it.
Yeah. He has a title, but I don't remember what it is.
It's him. But yeah, so there is like a whole fucking mansion like hidden in the hills. Of where is this anyway?
It's like outside of New York.
Yeah, it's like on the East Coast somewhere.
Yeah,
but it's hidden by like spells. Like you can't find it. It's hidden, and it's a huge fucking mansion. Like rooms everywhere. But
also below ground.
Mm-hmm.
You have this whole, like, extra basement level, no sunlight allowed.
There are medical facilities. There's, like, a pool. There's a basketball. I mean, I'm telling you, it is fucking huge.
Crazy. Yeah.
Huge. And so, Beth goes from, I had foster families and an apartment.
A tiny apartment.
To... Congratulations, you are a almost billionaire with a mansion.
Yeah, can you imagine?
No.
But also, like, for her realizing that her dad knew who she was and was, like, keeping an eye on her this whole time, but never once tried to make contact. Like, I would not know how to square that, to be honest.
As a person whose dad sucked, and who never tried to take care of me, period, that would be weird. It would be very exceptionally weird. I don't know how I would square up with that either, personally.
Yeah, it's like I was struggling and you had all of this and you didn't bother to help me. And I understand, like...
Well, he did help in tiny ways. Like, he would make her, so like, if she were in a bad foster home, he would make it so she would be moved from that foster home, which is, okay, great. But also, I would like a relationship with you. That would be better.
And I do understand, even Wrath was like, listen, he's part of this brotherhood. It's a violent life. He didn't want you to be a part of this. He didn't want to put you in danger, especially if the vampire part of you never happened. Like, if you just lived your life as a human, you would never have met me. Like, you would have just lived your life and been done with it. So I understand on an intellectual level the choices that were made, but emotionally, just having that interaction, having him come up and say, hey, I'm your dad, like, here's some money, what do you need, let me take care of you, would have been huge.
So huge.
Would have been huge. Yeah.
Because she didn't have that.
At all.
At all. She had nothing.
And I know that he was, like, taking care of her in the shadows and, like, which is great. Like, he was doing what he could.
But it seemed more creepy than it did fatherly.
Right. And that's where I'm like, you could have done better.
Yeah. It seemed 50 Shades of Grey creepy-ish than it did,
it's more
like...
stalker than dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was weird. It was a weird thing that he did. And, like, again, understand it on an intellectual level at the same time, but you're her dad.
So that was kind of a bummer. I was like, would have liked a little more from you, buddy. But whatever. What are you going to do?
Okay, so now we have Beth with Wrath. And we haven't talked about the fact that Wrath is known as the Blind King.
I know. I actually like that, too. That she was like, she actually made the king have some kind of disability.
Yes. He cannot see.
Yeah.
At all.
And he wears sunglasses all the time. Because it doesn't matter, like, if he has them on or not. And
yeah,
it's great. Like, he's still a very proficient warrior. He's still a total badass. He's the only full-blood vampire in existence.
He actually is going through a whole emotional crisis this whole book. Because he is trying to... he's trying to rectify the fact that he is king.
He really does not want to be king.
He doesn't want to be king.
No.
And part of his being king is being safe.
Yeah.
And you can't be safe if you're out fighting lessers all the time.
And he wants to be, because to him, like, protecting is the most important thing ever.
Because he watched his family die.
Oh, his story was horrible. There were so many things in this book that I was like, God damn it, what the fuck?
The trauma in this book that these people are carrying around just like
seriously.
is awful.
I was like, this is not escapism right
Sada's
now.
story
I am
is
crying.
also just like,
no, I know.
it's, yeah. And so you're just like, okay, so you have this king, but you're just like, you want to protect. We get it. But the world needs you to be safe. Because you are ruling it. That is your job.
What if by becoming king, you're actually more capable of protecting people?
By sitting down behind a desk.
And ruling.
And he was having a real hard time with that.
I mean, that is basically what the scribe virgin says to him when he
Yes.
goes and sees her. She's like, okay, I'll do this for you, but you need to do something for me, and that's become fucking king.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of this bullshit.
Sit on your ass on that fucking throne and be the king I proclaimed you to be. I've made you fucking king, so be it. And he was like, fuck.
But he does do it, which I admire. Like, it takes some strength, and it was a little bit Beth, too, who was like, man, this is like, your story sucks. Like, this is terrible, and you need to let it go. Like, you need to process it and realize that what your decisions are right now are not what they should be.
Yeah.
Like, they're not healthy because you're carrying all this trauma around.
Just like a fucking monkey on his back, man. It was just,
Yeah. And finally, he's like, oh shit. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to stop now.
What if I told you he got a seeing eye dog? And it's a
Oh my
golden
God.
retriever.
Oh my god. I love it already.
It's so cute.
That's so cute.
It's amazing.
Vampires with a little
It's
golden
so
retriever.
cute. Yeah, it's so
I love it
amazing.
so much.
And they
That's
all
so good.
love him.
That does not surprise me in the least.
Oh my god.
They're all golden retrievers, really.
I know, really. It's really cute.
Let's talk about the lessers a little bit, because I thought that this was... I really thought this was such an interesting take on the vampire mythology. This is something I had never seen before, and having this kind of like other side, I guess, to their coin, and like just literally their entire job is just to wipe out vampires.
That is their job. And so it's the reason why I suggested this book is because it's not a romance, although it ends with a HEA. It really is like an urban fantasy. Because it's like an urban it's like an urban romantasy, I guess you would call it. Because every book is a couple getting together. So there is a romance aspect to it. But it is very heavily an urban fantasy aspect to it. And that's what makes it such a unique series, and one of the reasons why I devoured it. And I think everyone who loves romantasy would love this series. And I think everyone should read it.
I think so too.
And the mythology is so unique and so different because you have the Omega, and if you know anything about Christianity, you have the Alpha and then you have the Omega. And as the series progresses, you realize it just, as you read it, it gets more tense, and it gets more tense, and it gets more tense as it goes on. And the lessers are just essentially soulless bodies walking around, wreaking havoc.
Well, and it's fascinating to me, like, when I was reading from Mr. X's perspective, he's a lesser who's, like, in charge of his own little squad of lessers. But when he was kind of giving his rundown of people that they look for to become lessers, they're basically psychopaths.
Yeah.
Like, they're looking for serial killers, essentially, or serial killers in the making. Like, maybe they haven't pulled the trigger, pun intended, yet, but... like, there's this idea, like, and that's why he ends up with Billy Riddle, who's the one that attacks Beth in the very beginning, because he's this guy who doesn't care about his family. He gets off on attacking women. That's, like, what he likes. and he is into like, it's this whole thing. And I'm just reading it going, okay, so all of these lessers that you've, like, brought into your circle, because they all have to be made from humans, are horrible people.
They're horrible people. And the process of doing it, we never really see the process. We see the aftermath of the process. And there's a lot of blood involved. It's all very gross. But they're all impotent. They cannot.
Yes, that's right. They literally cannot have sex, even if they want to.
No. So that is ended because their only purpose, literally their only purpose in their life, is to just kill vampires. That is it. And, of course, that aspect of their life is not mentioned as they're recruiting.
So weird that they would leave that
Bizarre.
out. That wasn't in the brochure.
Right? Yeah. But it's really interesting. And it's like, I don't know, it's just like it's like an MLM.
Yeah, for, like, zombies.
It's like a zombie MLM.
Or, like, serial killer MLM. It's like, oh, you want to torture and kill people? Well, have I got the structure for you? Like, you can be brought in here, and we're going to take your soul.
And all you have to do is bring in 10 more people. It's really, literally like a zombie MLM.
And then you get to hunt and kill vampires to your little heart's content. Like, congratulations.
It's exactly what it is.
No, that is exactly what it is. But I thought, I actually appreciated that she included Mr. X as a perspective for us to read from, because it really helped kind of flesh out what a lesser was. Because I was a little bit confused in the beginning, because I was like, I don't really understand, why does he keep talking about lessers? What does that mean? But then you get to read from his perspective, and I was like, oh my god, these people are terrible.
Oh, yeah, no, they're bad. And vampires can, like, smell them. They have, like, an odor, which, thank God, because can you imagine just people walking around and you have no idea if they're lessers or not?
Well, and they also, I guess, like, their color leaches away, so they all kind of start to look the same. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, okay, all right.
They're bad news. And they're sneaky, and they're smart, though, because they retain all of their brains and their intelligence at the same time. So they're soulless, and they're evil, but they're smart, and it's like,
I really thought the lore in this book was really good. Mm-hmm. Like, I thought it was really, really good. I also like, too, that she didn't just hold her hand and explain everything with a bunch of exposition. Like, she really expected you to kind of keep up.
Yeah.
As she was kind of giving us information through action, through plot, through character discussions, whatever. But it wasn't like, here's a big exposition dump so that you understand the world. It was, come on, let's go on this journey. Like, I'll fill you in as we go. And I love it when authors trust us to be smart enough to keep up.
Reading comprehension is a thing.
It really, really is.
And for a first in a series like this, it was not slow. It did not expect you to just, la-da-da. It was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, it went, like, as soon as it started, it was, like, off to the races. Like, there was very little downtime.
I suggested it knowing that you were not a fan of vampires, but this is not a typical vampire romantasy.
No, and actually part of what I appreciated, like, obviously they're still vampires, they can't see the sunlight, whatever, but, like, they're not just dead, reanimated bodies.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I kind of trip on when I read about, especially vampire romances. Like, I'm just like, that doesn't feel hot to me.
You mean cold, dead bodies aren't doing it for you?
Right. I'm like, I just don't think that's sexy. So it's usually like whoosh right over my head. But this one, like, they're a completely separate species, which I thought was fascinating. And I really appreciated that thought that went into it, because she obviously thought this through quite a bit. And it was very well done. I loved the writing. I thought the writing was really good. The characters were complex. The story was good. Like, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
It's really good. The series continues to be good as it develops, and then every book really kind of just develops that mythology through it, and every character has its own kind of little quirk as it goes through, which is also really great. And it's funny because you get to know kind of each one and I know what happens to each one. And I'm not gonna give anything away, even though I want to. Vicious, for example, you think is great. He has his own kind of little thing going on, but at the same time, you're like, I know he's fucked up.
Yeah, he's got trauma.
He's got some serious fucking trauma going on.
Yeah.
And when he finally finds his person, you're just like, that whole story. You think this story had a lot of trauma going on?
I have no doubt that there are a couple of other brothers that are just going to destroy me with their stories. Like, I know that that's a fact.
Absolutely.
For sure. And I did I do want to comment on Torment having already married and like fully just like into his wife, who is the sweetest person.
Yes.
Lets Beth borrow her wedding dress that she wore back in like what, the 1800s or 1700s.
Let's talk about the mating ceremony.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. I wasn't really sure what to expect. And to be honest, I almost felt like it was kind of anticlimactic.
Okay, but they carve the name of the guy on your back.
Into his back.
Yeah.
The name of the girl into his back. And her name is Elizabeth, which is fucking long. Yeah, I thought that was crazy.
Right?
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. And even she's going,
I know.
I'm not into this.
I know. Right? And usually it's the other way around, where it's his name on her, but it's her name on him. And she has to like watch it happen.
Which would be horrible. I cannot imagine.
And she just is like, what? And then they give her, they damp it, they put salt water on it so it doesn't scar and in a weird way. And then they give her the cloth with the blood on it, like a ceremony, like, here is your wedding thing.
She's like, great, thanks.
Thank you. I really appreciate this bloody cloth and this trauma that you just dropped in my hand.
Exactly. I'm traumatized now, but okay.
But they really see it as this honor that they carry around her name.
I mean, they're literally carving it into his back. Yeah. Like, it's not like a tattoo. No. They're carving it into his back with their knives.
And like old English writing. It's very stylized.
It was crazy.
And like it's a special skill that this one person has to do this. It's like a thing that they do. And I'm like, when I first read it, I'm like, what the fuck?
I know. I was right there with Beth going, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I don't need my name on anyone's back. Thank you very much. Like, I opt out. I opt out of all of this.
I mean, okay. Now, look. I'm into kind of some dark shit. I mean, like, okay, mark me, fine. Mark you, great. But this, standing there, not in any kind of sexual, like, weirdness at all, and just watching you in cold blood, getting knives? No.
No, I did not enjoy that. It was like torture, and I was like, no, not a fan. Not a fan of that. Thank you. Also, the scribe virgin shows up.
She shows up. She's like a real thing.
She could just like pop into reality. Like,
Beth like tries to shake her hand.
I know. And Raph's like, no. Sorry,
no.
She doesn't know any better. It's fine. And even the scribe version is like, it's cool.
It's cool.
I know. It's all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But, like, the fact that she got to wear a centuries-old wedding dress.
I know. It's very cool.
Like, can you imagine? I would feel like a princess.
It would be very cool.
And I'm pretty sure that that's how she felt, too. She was like, oh my god.
I mean, Beth was just inducted into this whole family. The found family vibes at the end of this book were definitely very strong.
I love found family. That's like my place. That is what I love.
She was brought in. They were like, you are one of us now. Welcome. And not only is she one of them, she is their queen. And they are like...
She is the queen.
She's the queen. And of course, what does she do? The first thing she does is walk out in the fucking sun just to see if she
I
can.
know. I thought that was crazy.
She's like, I just want to know.
I just want to test it.
I just wanna
and
see.
he's like, okay, surely she's just gonna go out and put a finger out.
Right.
And she's just like walking out.
She's gonna go walk.
No big deal. Like, just going for a walk. Don't worry about it.
What the fuck, man?
Poor Wrath is down in the basement going, oh my god, oh my god.
But she can walk around in sunlight. Because she's, half human, half vampire, magic, whatever. Yeah, but she's the queen.
Queen does what she wants.
Ruling everybody.
Love it. Yeah, that was so good.
No, it was a really good book. And it's a really good series. I highly recommend the whole thing. And it's really good.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was a really fun book when I wasn't being traumatized.
I mean, honestly though, do you want everything to be happy all the time?
No, and actually a lot of it, like the character development for Wrath was really satisfying. Yeah. So, like, having that trauma for him to get over, like, I understand why it was there, and I'll make fun of it because, it was so traumatic, but I understand why it was there, and I appreciated his character arc for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So, what are we reading next?
We are reading Payback's Witch.
By Lana Harper. Yeah, can't wait to get into that one. Definitely a different vibe.
Different vibe from this one. Completely different. Let's just go into a whole different field.
Very different.
I think we need a cozy book after this one.
Yeah, I feel like it was a good choice. So join us next time for Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. I am Daniella Drake.
And I'm Evelyn Crow.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Intoxicated Literature. Drink well, friends.